humans, based on the survival instinct, we always choose fear. For example, you fall in love. Will it last? Will he love me? Will I lose it? You know, fear, rejection, uncertainty, insecurity is always there, always. You see, we cannot love without feeling fear coming with it immediately. And that's very natural in the beginning, because as we're going to understand fear, we will see it's the catalyst for expansion when we listen to it. Because the first thing we do when we feel fear, immediately we resist it. We wish it wasn't there. I don't want it. I fear I'm going to die. I'm going to have this. This is going to happen to me. Or I've lost all my money. Or maybe he hasn't called. We had a date. Maybe he doesn't like me. Or maybe he doesn't want me anymore. Whatever. There's always fear. Insecurity and lack of safety is part and parcel of being human. But what I'd like to emphasize today is that these are gifts that we can embody and use them for greater freedom and understanding. So when we talk about fear, we're talking about what protects you, to protect your love. You see, one thing that we really are, in truth, in the moment itself, when the mind is not caught in past and future, you are love. When your mind is empty, and recall moments when your mind was empty, you're totally present, you feel good. But the problem is, it's not a problem, but of course, you know, we do not realize it at the moment, that when we're really happy at peace, we don't know it at the moment. You see? It is only later that you say, oh, there were moments when I was really at peace, when I was really happy. But at the moment that you're really at peace, you don't know it. Because there is no personal you to be aware of it. You're immersed in your love, whether the love of a child, the love of your painting, the love of your art, the love of the teaching that you do, the love of your partner, or the love of the moment. When there is that love, of course, there is the total immersion into now, which is called pure feeling. You see? So, so why is it that fear is so constant? And there isn't a moment that there is no fear. Some people come to see me and they say, well, I have this fear and I have that fear, you know. I don't get along with my husband or with my son or with my daughter or whatever, or with my neighbor at my work, or there's this and there's that. And they think that they are alone, and they think it's personal, and they think that, okay, this is happening all the time, part of the human nature. And let's understand why. Okay? Why do we suffer? First of all, what is fear doing? What is fear doing when we feel fear? It is trying to protect you. That's all it's doing. Trying to protect you, to give you security and safety. But the paradox is that lack of safety and insecurity is fear itself. It's a vicious circle. But when we understand it, when we understand the feeling, something wonderful starts to happen. I'd like to ask you now, how does fear feel? Contracted? Small? Separate? Want to close up? That's right, you want to close off. You want to retire, you want to run away. Okay? Now, how does love feel?
Expansive.
Expansive. Full.
Giving.
Open. Giving. You see?
Yeah.
It's the exact opposite. So life is a process of movement. Expansion, contraction, expansion, contraction. But the paradox is that the expansion, contraction, the roller coaster only happens on the human level. You are a human being. The being does not go up and down. The being is. That is something that the mind can't understand. But the moment itself is. Now when you bring a feeling into that isness, fear and love become one. That is something very hard to understand, but if we can grasp that, that is what awakening is all about. because then every problem and fear that we have, we can use it. We can use it for greater capacity to love. You know, when people keep telling me they suppress their fear, and they're always doing that. Oh, I have a problem, you know. I don't get along with my husband, we fight often, and there's this fear, or I'm losing a lot of money, or this is happening, and that is happening, and there's this problem. And they make that problem so real that they're not dealing with it. They're not looking at what is happening inside them. Problems is a part of everyday life. You can never avoid problems, because that is the part of the human mind, you see. But when you start to avoid it, wish it was away, wish you didn't have this problem, this fear, the moment you do that, you begin to die. And I've seen this sad situation. People lose this ability to love because they've stifled fear. And when fear locks inside you, it becomes rigid inside you. Someone said, some master said, I'm not for sure, he said that's why we happen to have arthritis, because we become so rigid, our bones become, you know. So anyway, I'll just put that in. But that is not my experience, that I know that. I quoted it. Anyway, but the truth is that we become so rigid, so set in our stifling of our fear, they keep it inside, this resentment, that then we wonder why there isn't love in our hearts. We don't feel that warmth. We don't feel that connection. It begins to die. And then we find, even spiritually, we know a lot of knowledge, we went to church, we read books, we belong to some philosophy, but somehow we're not living this truth. Because the spirit inside us has died from avoiding and escaping fear. And we are emotional beings. Many years ago, I used to hate emotion. Give me an emotional woman and I'll run. You know, I couldn't stand tears or too hysterical. But eventually, I began to learn a great deal from my clients, from myself, from my wife, that emotions are not only present, but they're healthy when you know how to deal with them, how to learn through them, you see. And the strength that you will derive from dealing with your fears, with your emotions, is tantamount to godliness. It's so amazing, because it brings out the compassion, the ability to feel and to know much deeper. Now, the key question is, how do we experience fear? Okay, this is the crucial point. Okay, so let's go back to what we said before. Fear feels like contraction. Fear feels small. You know, you want to escape, you want to run away. You don't like it the way it is, you see. So you contract. So now let's assume you're feeling some kind of fear. There's a contraction in you. What do you do? How do you experience it? Well, first of all, when we have a fear, we want to escape it, and a part of us is saying, I don't want this. I don't like it. You see? I want to run away from it. So, do the opposite. Take a deep breath and sit with it. We've said this many times before, but the key question now is to understand what that means. To listen to that. Now, how do you listen? I was with Sylvia today. We were having lunch, and she wanted me to go a little deeper into this, and because this is one thing I feel that most people fail to see, not only to apply it, but also because they do not understand the process. So I put my finger on her hand like this, and I said, now feel this. And of course she feels it. But the mind says, oh, there's pressure with the finger. No, put that away. Forget the finger, forget the pressure. You see? Forget Burt putting his finger there. Forget the hand receiving the pressure. Just feel it as it is. Are you understanding me? Just feel it. Now, if you feel it and you don't say pressure, you don't say finger, you don't say hand, just feel it as it is. You'll find that what you called pressure or pain before diminishes. It becomes just a feeling, neutral.